Today, the Drug Enforcement Administration announced a massive drug bust connected to a major Mexican cartel. 19 people have been charged, including Washingtonians and foreign nationals.
Fox 15 News reporter Nia Wong.
Some of these shipments were so large they were brought here in semi-trucks.
To chaos before sunrise. Federal agents descended on warehouses, shipping ports, and residential neighborhoods, dismantling a hidden Sinaloa cartel command cell operating in the heart of the city. Known as Operation Take Back America, this 18-month joint offensive by the DEA and ICE revealed just how deeply cartels had embedded themselves within U.S. soil. For Seattle, this wasn't merely a law enforcement raid. It was the moment the fentanyl war erupted right in their backyard.
And Homeland Security officials say Mexican cartels now are attempting to track, harass, and target immigration and border patrol agents.
More clearly than any headline ever could. 19 individuals linked to Mexico's Sinaloa cartel faced 37 federal charges, ranging from conspiracy and drug trafficking to weapons violations. The arrests stretched across Seattle, Tacoma, and nearby counties, leaving authorities stunned at the scale. Agents confiscated 4,165 pounds of methamphetamine, 269 pounds of fentanyl, 23 pounds of cocaine, 6.4 pounds of heroin, and a cache of 23 firearms, some altered for automatic fire, along with explosives hidden in suburban garages. Each seizure didn't just represent drugs or weapons, it exposed the hidden backbone of an entire criminal empire, dismantled in a single sweeping operation.
Breaks down how federal agents tracked this case from Tacoma to Sinaloa, Mexico.
You're looking at a fraction of the hundreds of pounds of meth and fentanyl seized by the Drug Enforcement Administration and partnering agencies.
It revealed that the fentanyl alone could have produced 6.9 million lethal doses, enough to wipe out the combined populations of Seattle and Tacoma multiple times over. Nationwide, 51 arrests were tied to the same supply chain, highlighting just how far-reaching the operation had become. This wasn't a lucky break. It was the conclusion of an 18-month pursuit, spanning multiple states, following encrypted messages, tracing wire transfers, and unraveling a smuggling network that treated American highways like conveyor belts. The cartel behind it wasn't new. It was the notorious Sinaloa Empire, a criminal machine that had spent decades refining its trade across borders, always staying one step ahead of law enforcement. But what authorities uncovered in Seattle wasn't just an import route, it was a fully operational branch office, blending local contacts, legal trade channels, and financial network
In the Puget Sound region.
Investigators say this ring distributed deadly drugs up the west coast to Washington.
From their strongholds in Sinaloa, the brothers orchestrated a drug pipeline that stretched from Mexico through California's freight depots and all the way to Washington's ports and warehouse districts. They never crossed borders themselves. They controlled the people and logistics that did. Freight forwarders, trucking companies, and customs brokers, many legitimate on the surface, were quietly folded into their network. Using encrypted channels, dummy accounts, and foreign servers, the brothers masked their operations within the flow of everyday commerce. Semi-trucks hauling fertilizer or household goods also carried tightly sealed chemical containers, while couriers moved shipments along the I-5 corridor under ordinary shipping manifests. The drugs were stashed in garages, sheds.
A very significant bust, a very significant operation for the Pacific Northwest.
Ream says their investigation started 2 years ago with undercover agents buying drugs in Tacoma, to their most recent bust in early August, which stretched across 11 different locations in the Seattle area. Not only
funneled finances through cryptocurrency wallets and shell companies registered in Delaware and Mexico City, giving the illusion of distant investors rather than drug kingpins. Their money trail revealed deposits in digital coins, later converted to pesos or laundered through small import-export businesses. By the time agents traced one transaction, another had already vanished.
Among those arrested on U.S. soil were key operatives: Isabel Barry Sapon, a 44-year-old truck driver caught moving multi-hundred-pound loads of meth and fentanyl across state lines, and Jose Felix German, a 34-year-old Mexican national who had been deported in 2013 but illegally re-entered the country to manage finances and coordinate local distributors. Each faces a minimum of 10 years in federal prison, with the possibility of life sentences under U.S. drug and weapons laws. The scope of the network revealed a stark truth. Sinaloa no longer just smuggled drugs. They built industrial-scale operations that mirrored legitimate businesses. From routes to warehouses to supply chains, everything ran with corporate precision. The Pacific Northwest had quietly become one of its main distribution hubs. With
The Sinaloa cartel peddles this poison for one reason: to make money. In this case, we hit them where it hurt.
In Seattle,
intricate operations lay a human crisis that made the Seattle raid urgent. Washington's overdose numbers told a grim story. In 2023 alone, 3,477 deaths were recorded, with 76% linked directly to fentanyl. King County surpassed 1,000 fatalities for the first time. Morgues ran near capacity, and first responders faced multiple overdose calls every single day. Federal lab tests on seized counterfeit pills revealed the deadly scale. Half of the pills contained more than 2 milligrams of fentanyl, enough to kill an average adult within minutes. And these weren't street drugs. They were disguised as everyday medications. Adderall for students, oxycodone for pain, Xanax for anxiety. To parents, they seemed harmless. To the DEA, they were evidence of a deliberate strategy to target new users. The human toll defined the crisis. Every statistic represented a family shattered, a life lost. Parents discovered children unresponsive in bedrooms. Schools reported students collapsing in bathrooms, and emergency rooms were inundated with waves of overdoses tied to counterfeit pills. Police traced many deaths back to a handful of local distribution cells dismantled during the operation. Public health data now show fentanyl has surpassed all other causes of death for Americans aged 18 to 45, overtaking car accidents, suicide, and gun violence combined. Seattle, once considered far from
not only seizing drugs, but guns and $650,000.
Drugs and guns go together, and this group had an arsenal at their disposal.
The 37
Back America revealed just how easily international criminal networks could embed themselves within American cities. By the time the first raids hit, federal agents had mapped more than a dozen interconnected cells spanning Seattle, Tacoma, and smaller towns along Puget Sound. Each cell had a specialized role: manufacturing, storage, transport, or street-level distribution, making the network nearly impossible to dismantle completely. ICE officials argued that city governments, including Seattle's, had turned a blind eye to repeat offenders. In official statements, they highlighted multiple deported cartel-linked suspects who had returned undetected, posing ongoing threats to public safety. The ICE Director of Field Operations warned bluntly, "If local governments refuse to cooperate, we will redirect our assets to enforce the law ourselves. Public safety cannot be optional." The language made clear this was not a temporary campaign, but a fundamental shift in national strategy, dismantling the barriers.
Seattle now finds itself on notice for immigration enforcement. ICE agents will be ramping up their operations throughout the city, looking to detain and deport people here illegally as part of a targeted crackdown. Good evening, I'm Molly Shen.
Seattle's mayor, Bruce Harrell, took the podium and labeled the federal raids a dangerous overreach. Invoking the 10th Amendment, he argued that federal agents could not compel local police to participate in deportations or detentions. Harrell declared that Seattle would remain a sanctuary city, committed to upholding humanity and due process even under pressure.
His statement drew applause from immigrant advocacy groups, but it also set the stage for confrontation. The mayor's office pledged to protect residents regardless of immigration status, words that ICE heard as defiance. By the weekend, downtown Seattle had become a battleground of narratives. Protesters filled the streets outside City Hall, holding signs that read, "Shut down ICE, sanctuary for all." Their chants echoed through the financial district as local police worked to maintain order. A few blocks away, counter-protesters waved American flags and displayed photos of overdose victims, demanding stricter immigration enforcement. The scene captured a stark national divide, one side calling for compassion, the other for control. Behind the headlines, the operation itself illustrated why unprecedented authority and coordination were necessary. The DEA, ICE, FBI, and ATF operated under a unified command, months in the making. DEA led narcotics tracing, ICE handled immigration and logistics, the FBI conducted digital forensics, and ATF managed weapons and explosives. Over 600 agents, officers, and analysts executed a 36-hour coordinated strike. Helicopters hovered over Tacoma's industrial parks, drones scanned Arlington warehouses, and strike teams breached safe houses on Whidbey Island. In one raid, agents uncovered grenade components and volatile chemicals stored alongside narcotics, forcing hazmat teams to intervene. The operation spanned urban and rural terrain, exposing how the cartel had exploited Washington's geography to conceal its sprawling criminal enterprise.
Count indictment includes drug dealers and a truck driver from Snohomish County, King County, and Mexico. While more than a dozen are in custody, 6 remain on the run, and the DEA says this investigation is ongoing.
For Western Washington later confirmed that the operation had produced the largest multi-defendant indictment in 2 decades. The 37 federal counts spanned conspiracy, distribution, weapons possession, and money laundering. Investigators designed the indictments to prevent plea deals that could weaken the case, ensuring that cartel-linked suspects would face full federal prosecution. The coordination between agencies was hailed as a model for future anti-cartel operations. Federal officials credited much of the success to advances in digital forensics and data fusion. Analysts tracked financial flows across cryptocurrency exchanges, matched GPS data from seized phones, and decrypted encrypted Telegram channels. Every suspect was identified through a combination of digital breadcrumbs and traditional surveillance. The lesson was clear. Modern cartel operations rely on technology, and only technology-driven enforcement can dismantle them. Yet as headlines faded, the aftermath proved just as complex as the operation itself. Across Washington and the country, officials celebrated the Seattle takedown as proof that cartel threats were no longer confined to border states. The message spread fast. Cartels had infiltrated American cities, but the U.S. was finally fighting back. In political speeches and campaign ads, one statistic became both evidence and rallying cry: 6.9 million potential deaths prevented. That number symbolized both the scale of the crisis and the urgency of stronger enforcement policies.